open the root cellar or a storage box on your balcony, hoping to bite into a crisp, fresh carrot, but instead you pull out something soft, limp, and let's be honest, it looks more like a rubber truncheon than a vegetable. Sound familiar? I think every serious gardener has had their carrots turn into a pile of mush or rot by midwinter, at least once. But what if I told you that carrots can last until May and stay so juicy that they practically squirt when you cut them? Today, we're going to break this topic down from A to Z. I won't just tell you how to store them, but how to avoid killing your harvest before it even makes it into the cellar. Ready to uncover the secret to perpetual freshness? Let's dive in. Before we start digging through sawdust and sand, let's understand one critical thing. The carrot is a high-maintenance vegetable. It has extremely thin skin, much thinner than a potato or a beet. This is exactly why it loses moisture so quickly and gets flabby. Any scratch, even a microscopic one, is an open door for bacteria and fungi. The infection gets in, and that's it. You can kiss that carrot goodbye. The rot spreads from one carrot to the next, like wildfire. Our goal today is to create spa-like conditions for them. Ideal temperature, humidity, and peace. This is the only way we can trick nature and preserve those vitamins until the next season. Let's start right at the beginning, the moment the carrot is still underground. The first and most critical mistake growers make is harvesting at the wrong time. Many people rush the process. As soon as the first signs of frost appear on the horizon, everyone grabs their shovels and heads straight for the garden patch. This is a huge mistake. Carrots achieve their maximum sweetness and crispness specifically during cool weather. When the temperature drops down to around 40 or 41 degrees Fahrenheit, that's 4 or 5 degrees Celsius, the roots growth processes slow down, allowing sugars to accumulate. If you dig them up while it's still warm outside, say 59 degrees Fahrenheit, the carrots will suffer thermal shock when you move them to a cold root cellar. They'll immediately start to deteriorate. So rule number 1, wait for the cool temperatures, but don't wait for a hard freeze. Let's talk about the actual harvesting process. Think of yourself as a surgeon. That is the level of care you need in the garden. If you can use a garden fork, ditch the spade or shovel. A shovel makes it far too easy to slice right through that tender root. And damaged carrots won't store well. At all. Even if you try to trim off the injury. Use the fork to carefully loosen the soil around the carrots, lift the clump slightly, and then gently pull the carrot by the green tops. If the soil is dry and hard, it's best to water the bed a couple of days beforehand, but definitely not right before the harvest. We don't need extra mud. Remember, every bump or nick you cause now means one less carrot come winter. All dug up? Perfect. Now let's look up at the sky. If the sun is blazing, do not leave your carrots right there on the bed to cure all day. That's a myth, and it will destroy your harvest. Carrots lose moisture instantly in direct sunlight. They can become limp and rubbery in literally just a couple of hours. You might think they're just drying off, but they're actually dying. You need to cure them somewhere shady. Put them under a covering or in a well-ventilated area with a good cross breeze. Lay them out in a single layer on burlap sacking or cardboard. Let them sit for a few hours. This allows the dirt clinging to them to dry out and easily flake off. But don't let them over-dry. Once that dirt turns into a dry crust, it's time to move on to the next step. The age-old gardener's dilemma: to wash your carrots or not to wash them. That's the million-dollar question. If you live in an apartment and plan on storing them in the fridge, washing is absolutely necessary. However, if you are storing large quantities long-term in a root cellar or basement, it's actually better to skip the wash. Dirty carrots, still in their natural earth coat, tend to store much better. Washing breaks down the delicate protective layer on the skin. Furthermore, if you don't thoroughly dry wash carrots, rot is practically guaranteed. There's one exception though. If you harvested the carrots during heavy rain and they're just huge clumps of mud, you simply have no choice but to wash them. But in that case, you must dry them extremely carefully for several days in a cool spot until they are completely dry to the touch. Now, we grab the knife. It's time to trim the carrot tops. This is a critical step. Many people simply twist the stems off by hand or leave an inch of the green foliage behind, thinking it looks decorative. Don't do this. The greens, even a small stub, will continue to wick moisture from the root vegetable. What's worse, that remaining foliage will try to sprout again when spring approaches. And sprouting is the death of flavour. Your carrots will end up tough and woody. We need to cut aggressively. Don't just remove the tops. We must take an extra 2 to 3 millimeters off the very crown of the carrot itself. Yes, we are intentionally removing the growth point. No growth point means zero chance of the carrot sprouting later in storage. The cut surface must be clean and smooth. After trimming, allow the cut ends to air dry and cure for a couple of hours until they form a protective crust. Next up, quarantine. Don't rush your harvest straight into the root cellar or basement. Give the carrots a proper trial run, known as the curing period. Let them rest in a cool, dark place, like a shed or garage, for about a week. This period allows any hidden damage or disease to fully manifest. Carrots that were bruised, damaged, or beginning to rot internally will reveal themselves with spots, soft patches, or obvious mould. After that week, we hold a rigorous screening process. We inspect every single carrot, I mean absolutely every single one. The slightest blemish, crack, or sign of wireworm damage, those must be set aside. Only the ideal specimens go into long-term storage. All the wounded stock should be immediately sent to the kitchen for processing. You cannot afford to be sentimental here. Let's talk about the place where our orange friends will spend the winter, the root cellar or basement. The temperature must be strictly maintained between 0 and +2 degrees Celsius. If it gets warmer, the carrots will start to sprout. If it gets colder, they will freeze, becoming sweet, but ultimately turning slimy when they thaw. We need high humidity, around 90 to 95%, but you must not have condensation dripping from the ceiling. The storage area must also be properly ventilated, and this is crucial. Before you store your harvest, you need to properly sanitize the cellar. Use a lime wash mixed with copper sulfate, or perhaps a sulfur candle. Kill any fungal spores that may have survived from last year. Otherwise, they will quickly attack your fresh produce. Method 1. The classic approach. Sand. But not just any old sand from the sandbox. We need clean sand, preferably river sand, that has been kiln-dried, or at least thoroughly sun-dried. Why does this method work? It maintains a stable temperature, and crucially, it isolates the carrots from touching each other. Take a storage crate, pour in a base layer of sand, arrange the carrots so they don't touch, cover them completely with more sand, then add another layer of carrots. Repeat this layering process until the container is full. Here's the crucial detail. The sand must be slightly damp. How do you check this? Squeeze a handful in your fist. It should hold its shape as a clump, but there should be no visible water dripping out. If the sand is too dry, it will actually wick the moisture right out of your carrots. If it's too wet, well, hello rot. Method number 2 is for the nature lovers, those who appreciate the scent of the forest. Sawdust. A quick note of caution, however. You should only use sawdust from coniferous trees, specifically pine or spruce. Why? Because this type of wood contains essential oils and phenolic compounds. These substances act as powerful, natural antiseptics that effectively kill bacteria and fungi. The storage principle here is exactly the same as with sand. You alternate a layer of sawdust with a layer of carrots. Sawdust is much lighter than sand, which makes the storage boxes easier to move around. Plus, your carrots stay perfectly clean, so you won't have to wash off any dirt later. Crucially, make absolutely certain the sawdust you use is fresh and completely dry. Never use rotten or damp sawdust, as it is an ideal breeding ground for mould. Method number 3. This is perfect if you don't have a huge carrot harvest, but you want absolutely flawless results. The secret ingredient here is onion husks. Don't throw away those onion skins throughout the year. Start collecting them. The husks release natural, antimicrobial compounds that eliminate harmful decay and bacteria. Layer your carrots in bags or boxes, making sure to generously cover and separate each layer with the dry husks. Your carrots will be stored like gold. They won't rot, won't dry out, and will even take on a slight pleasant aroma. This method is especially useful if your storage area tends to be a little damp. The husks will absorb excess moisture while simultaneously providing superb protection against any fungal or rotting processes. Method number 4. Sphagnum moss. This is definitely an option for the seasoned or advanced gardener. Sphagnum is a truly unique natural material. It has extremely powerful antibacterial properties, and crucially, it's highly hygroscopic. It's excellent at regulating moisture. If there's too much moisture, it absorbs it. If things get dry, it releases it. You can usually find it growing in bogs, or you can purchase it at most gardening supply stores. Simply layer the carrots with the moss inside your storage bins. The big advantage here is that the moss is extremely lightweight, and when you pull the carrots out, they are spotless. They look like they've already been washed. Overall, this remains one of the most reliable and trusted methods for long-term storage. Method number 5. The clay slurry. It might sound messy, but this technique is absolutely foolproof. The idea is to create an individual protective capsule for every single root vegetable. Take some clay and mix it with water until it reaches the consistency of thick cream or pancake batter. For extra disinfection, you can optionally add a little potassium permanganate. Dip each carrot into this mixture, allow the excess to drip off, and then lay them out to dry. This creates a thin, protective clay crust. This coating prevents moisture from evaporating and stops bacteria from getting inside the vegetable. Encased in this armour, the carrots can be stored for a very long time, even if the storage conditions aren't perfect. When you're ready to use them, the clay washes off easily with water. Method 6. Plastic bags. Yes, you heard that right. Just your average thick plastic bags. But here is the crucial trick. Load the carrots into the bags, roughly 5 to 10 kilograms per bag. And pay attention to this. We absolutely do not tie them closed. You must leave the opening completely open. As the carrots breathe, they release carbon dioxide. Since CO2 is heavier than air, it settles at the bottom of the bag. This carbon dioxide acts as a natural preservative, preventing rot and decay. If you seal the bags, the carrots will essentially suffocate and spoil instantly. If your storage cellar is extremely dry, you can poke a couple of small holes in the bottom of the bag for minimal ventilation. But the top must always remain open. This is, without a doubt, the cheapest and easiest method available. Method 7. Enamelled pots. If you have large, old enamelled pots or buckets that you hate to throw out, now is the time to put them to good use. First, wash your carrots, trim the ends, and make sure they are completely dried in the sun. Next, pack them tightly into the pot, standing them upright like little soldiers. Place a napkin or paper towel over the tops, then seal the pot with its lid. That's all there is to it. Move the container to a cool location. This sealed environment creates its own perfect microclimate for storage. You just need to periodically check inside and replace the paper towel if you notice any moisture. This is an excellent method, especially if you only need to store a smaller batch of carrots. What if you don't have a root cellar and live in an apartment? It's definitely harder, but completely doable. Let's look at the fridge method first. Wash and thoroughly dry your carrots, then wrap them in paper towels and place them inside a plastic bag. The paper is key as it absorbs condensation. Crucially, you must change the paper as soon as it feels damp, or you risk mold developing. There's also another highly effective method using plastic wrap. Take each clean, dry carrot and tightly wrap it in stretch film, making sure there are absolutely no air bubbles trapped inside. This cocoon method allows the carrots to stay perfectly fresh in your fridge's crisper drawer for up to 3 or 4 months without any loss of quality. It's labour-intensive, yes, but it ensures you'll have plenty of fresh carrots for those winter soups. The balcony. If your balcony is enclosed and doesn't get bitterly cold, you can easily turn it into a makeshift root cellar. Grab a large cardboard box and place a smaller box inside it. Fill the gap between the 2 boxes with styrofoam, packing peanuts, or old blankets. This essentially creates a highly insulated container, like a giant thermos. Fill the inner box with carrots, making sure they are layered and covered with sawdust or sand. Finally, cover the top of the box with a thick blanket. This insulated system will allow the carrots to survive even mild outdoor freezes. The key is to keep a close eye on the forecast though. If they predict extreme cold, say -20 degrees Celsius, it's safer to bring the entire box inside the apartment, placing it near the balcony door. Don't forget the power of freezing. If you have lots of small, crooked or damaged carrots that you can't store whole, don't toss them. Process them right away. Grate them or chop them into cubes. Then, place them into portion-sized bags or containers and move them straight to the freezer. Crucial tip: to save space and prevent the carrots from clumping together in a solid block, first flash freeze the chopped pieces by spreading them on a baking sheet or tray. Once they are solid, you can transfer them into the final storage bags. Frozen carrots retain nearly all their nutrients and are perfect for adding to soups and stews. You'll definitely thank yourself for the time saved when winter rolls around. Dehydration. Seriously, this method doesn't get enough credit. If your freezer is completely packed, but you're drowning in carrots, dry them out. You can slice them into thin rounds and use a dedicated dehydrator, or your oven set to a low temperature, typically around 140 to 160 degrees Fahrenheit. Dried carrots take up 10 times less space than fresh ones, and they store perfectly in standard glass jars right in your pantry or kitchen cupboard. Before you cook with them, simply soak the pieces in water for about half an hour, and they'll completely regain their shape. The flavour in a stew or soup remains just as rich and intense. This is truly the perfect solution for backpackers, campers, or anyone dealing with a tiny kitchen. A crucial point: inspection. Don't assume you can just toss your carrots in the root cellar and forget about them until spring. That would be a critical mistake. Make sure you inspect your stores monthly. Go down and check every single crate. If you notice any unpleasant odours or see fruit flies, that is a major red flag. You must locate the source of the rot and remove it immediately. And don't just remove the rotten carrot. Take out any that were touching it as well. Decay spreads extremely quickly through contact. It is far better to sacrifice 3 carrots now than lose the entire box next week. Stay vigilant. And finally, let's quickly review the absolute no-goes. Do not store carrots near apples. Apples release ethylene gas. This is a ripening hormone, and proximity to apples causes your carrots to age rapidly, wilt, and start rotting. They are completely incompatible. They fight like cats and dogs. Keep them in separate corners of the cellar, or at minimum put them on different shelving units. Also, make sure to avoid drafts which can quickly dry out the root vegetables, and never store carrots just piled directly on an earthen floor. They will get damp and rot almost instantly. All right, friends, you are now armed to the teeth with knowledge. Carrot storage isn't a lottery. It's a reliable method. Getting the harvest timing right, radically trimming the crown, proper quarantine, and employing one of the 7 storage methods we covered, these steps guarantee you crisp, fresh produce right up until spring. Picture this. It's March. You pull out a firm, fresh carrot, and your neighbours ask, "Wait, did you buy that at the market?" And you proudly reply, "No way! These are my own, straight from the patch." This year, challenge yourself to try at least one new method we discussed. Maybe give the clay slurry or the pine sawdust method a shot. I guarantee the results will amaze you. If this video was helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our upcoming guides on storing things like beets and potatoes. Now head down to the comments and tell me, what storage method works best for you? Maybe you have a family secret you've been perfecting for years. Share it with us. Let's discuss. I'll see you in the next video.